Hello everyone, back to you in today's video doing JMA Friday. As always on Friday, we're having a detailed look at the weather for the next month. It's going to take us towards the end of August, actually. We go to around the 25th of August with this update. So we'll see what the JMA is predicting for the final month of the summer. Now, normally we would add the CFS V2 to this update. We normally have the month ahead charts of the JMA and the CFS together. The CFS model has not updated at NOAA's website since the 22nd of July. So it's been quite a few days now since it last updated. Not sure what the problem is, so we haven't got up-to-date charts to add to this update from CFS V2. So what we're going to do is, first of all, we'll have a look at the month-ahead charts from the JMA, as always, and then we'll also add to that the seasonal model. We'll look at September and October as well. So essentially, it's going to be a 3-month look ahead. So we're going to start off with the 500 millibar height anomalies for the next month, broken down into weekly periods. So we've got the Northern Hemisphere, North Pole view down. First of all, this is the North Pole up here, mid latitudes of the Northern Hemisphere around there. British Isles is just there. On these charts, blue is extrapolating to below average heights, which is low pressure, and yellow, orange and red extrapolating to above average heights, which is high pressure. So the first week, these broke down to week periods. The first week takes us from today, the 28th, through to the 4th of August. We find we've got a very unsettled looking chart. Below average heights are centering around and to the west of the UK. We're bringing the jet stream through, and it's on a bit of a southerly track. So we're on the cool side of the jet, and we're within an area and a trough of low pressure. So that does look really notably unsettled, and seasonably unsettled to the final stages of July and the opening days of August. This is kind of like the dog days of summer. Normally, you'd expect the hottest and driest weather of the year as a whole to be occurring on average through this period. So this does look quite unseasonably unsettled, to say the least, for the week ahead. Week 2 takes us from the 4th through to the 11th of August. And it all looks very similar, really. The colours aren't quite as intense, but even so, the pattern, the setup is more or less the same, which is below average heights over and now to the east of the UK, and above average heights out to our west. And again, we are a little bit on the cool side of the jet stream. That's wrong. So the jet stream is doing something like that. We're still on the cool side of the jet. We're close to that trough of low pressure. It still looks relatively cool and relatively unsettled as we go through that opening part of August. And then we go through to weeks 3 and 4, which takes us from the 11th through to the 25th of August, and still looking quite unsettled, really. So this is shaping up to be quite a unsettled looking August, actually, quite an unsettled looking end to summer. Still this trough of below average heights, very close to the UK, if not over the country. Still probably on a bit of a southerly track with the jet stream, rather like that. No sign of any particularly above average heights, any particular high pressure close to the country. So overall, that still looks unsettled as we go into the second half of August. And this could mean that August is a little bit of a write-off, actually, in terms of fine summer-like weather. Not at all what you want to be seeing for the final month of the summer, but there we go. You know, say what the model is showing, and this does look quite cool and quite unsettled. Let's have a look at the tropical and mid-latitude view in terms of temperature and precipitation anomalies that go with those heights over the next month. So on this view, the British Isles in the top right-hand corner of the chart as you are looking at it. Reminder of the pattern for the next week. This is the 500 millibar height anomaly taking us from the 28th of July to the 4th of August. And it looks very, very unsettled. That deep trough of below average heights through the country, and the jet stream is on a bit of a southerly track as well. You'd expect that to be wetter than average, and the model is indeed forecasting above average rainfall, above average precipitation for the week ahead. It's hardly a surprise with such a unsettled looking pattern, and cooler than average as well. So the temperature anomaly is coming out under par also. So we're looking at a cooler and wetter than average week ahead for the 28th of July through to the 4th of August. And then week 2, which is before through to the 11th of August, keeps things going. Again, below average heights centering over the country, and there's above average heights up there somewhere. So although we have got that area of below average heights across the country, precipitation isn't as bad. So actually the precipitation only is going closer and maybe even a little bit drier than average. That's quite a surprise really, given what looked like a very unsettled 500 millibar height anomaly. So actually the 4th to the 11th is not as wet as you might have thought by looking at that 500 millibar height anomaly. Doesn't really help the temperatures though. They're still coming out cooler than average there from the 4th through to the 11th. So not quite as wet, but still cool from the 4th through to the 11th of August. And then we go through to weeks 3 and 4, which takes us from the 11th through to the 25th of August. What we find with this one is that we've got an area of below average heights, again, very close to the country, a little bit centred more to the north. And now, perhaps surprisingly, this one is looking more unsettled again. So for weeks 3 and 4, the rainfall anomalies are actually going above average once more. And the temperature anomaly is staying on the coolest side, but it's not quite as cool as weeks 1 and 2. Nevertheless, it's nothing really to get excited about. Relatively cool continuing into the second half of the month. So overall, I think we're looking at quite a poorish August here from the JMA. I say can't put the CFS to this and see whether that's in agreement on this cool and unsettled outlook, because the CFS hasn't updated for several days, unfortunately. But on the JMA on its own, it is looking quite a cool and quite an unsettled August. And then let's extend out beyond that into the following couple of months. So the seasonal model has updated, and we'll have a look at September first of all. By the way, we'll be doing the second seasonal model roundup for the autumn of 2017 on Sunday, when we'll get around 10 or 11 long-range models together and see what they're all showing for the autumn. We will add the JMA model to that update, but there's so much information that you can get from the JMA that we won't be able to include all of it into that seasonal model roundup, because we have something like 10 or 11 long-range models to look at. So we always like to isolate this one out a bit and have a look at it more in depth in a video in its own terms, as well as including it in the seasonal model roundup. So this is the 500 millibar height anomaly that the JMA model is showing for September. And actually, it looks like it's going for quite a seasonal month. We've got an area of above average heights, very, very close to the country. So high pressure looks like it's dominating. And we're probably bringing in the wind from an easterly direction, which in September is going to be quite warm. So it appears that we've got the same old story, but we tend to get year after year after year, which is a cool, unsettled, not particularly pleasant August, and then everybody goes back to school, everybody finishes their summer holidays. What do you know? Summer returns in September, and it looks like the JMA is going for that kind of idea. Again, with a lot of dry and warm weather, probably extending out into September. October, and this is 3 months away, so it's a long, long way out. So a lot of caution is advised with this. But October shows a very odd-looking chart. We've got above average heights through central parts of Europe. It appears that we've got above average heights also extending through the UK and going to the north, with probably a trough down here. I think this is probably more unsettled than it looks, really. The jet stream is probably doing something a bit like that. It is October, so the Atlantic is going to have a lot more buoyancy in it. I would suspect, although it actually looks as though it should be a reasonably dryish month, that's probably quite an unsettled month, actually. We're probably drawing the air up from the south. So it is a very mild month, I would have thought. But I would suspect that this trough that we've got here to our west-southwest is probably throwing up quite a lot of rain bands. It is a complicated looking pattern, but I suspect it's more unsettled than you might think. So just have a look at the mid-latitude view again in terms of temperature and precipitation. Reminder of a 500 millibar height anomaly that the JMA is going for in September. It's placing that big ridge over to the east-northeast of us, probably bringing in a lot of easterly winds. So the precipitation forecast for September is drier than average, which isn't a surprise because we've got high pressure dominating the month. The temperature signal for September is warmer than average, maybe not as much as you might think by looking at the height anomaly. Bear in mind it is September, so the nights will probably be starting to get a little bit cooler, which is probably going to be offsetting the warmth by day. Even so, we are coming out with a warmer than average September there. The mean wind direction, always a job to make these out, but the mean wind direction is easterly. The black arrows are coming in from the east, and you see it over here as well, actually coming in from a long way east. So that might be why the temperature anomaly isn't quite as warm as you might think by looking at the height anomaly. It's probably because we're dragging the air in from a very long way east. And of course, as you get over towards the Baltic area of Europe and into western Russia, things will be rapidly starting to cool down through the course of September. So that probably explains why it's not quite as warm as you might expect. Even so, it's a warmer and drier than average September. Same old, same old. We seem to get this every year, which is unsettled, cool, poor weather in August, and then summer comes back in September. And then we go through to October, finally, and the height anomaly for October suggested that we have got an area of above average heights through central parts of Europe, but I think there's also a trough in the Atlantic that's probably going to be throwing up rain bands. I think the wind direction is southerly southwesterly, so it's likely to be a mild, even perhaps a very mild month, but I would suspect it's not quite as settled as you might have thought. Although actually the precipitation anomaly is still coming out drier than average, so perhaps my doubts about the anomaly, the height anomaly, aren't really backed up. The precipitation is looking drier than average in October, and it's also looking like a milder or a warmer than average month as well. So September and October, on their own terms, which is just one model, one snapshot, September and October are looking like a fairly reasonable start to the autumn if you want warm and dry weather. As I say, we'll be doing the seasonal roundup, the second one for the autumn of 2017 on Sunday, and we will include this in that update, but we'll also have many more models as well. We get something like 10 or 11 long-range models together and see what they're all showing for the autumn, so that's going to be quite an interesting update. So coming back to the JMA and rounding it all up, it looks as though the next month is going to be really quite unsettled. It's looking rather dodgy, to say the least, for August, just from the JMA. We haven't been able to include the CFS in this, so that's a caveat with that, but on its own terms, the JMA looks cool and unsettled for August. September and October looking like a significant improvement if you want warmer and drier conditions. So hang about till September and maybe summer will be back. Right, that's all for now. Come back to our weekend forecast. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.